Hi guys, Joel here from Aussie Chart Trends. Today's update is for Thursday, the 14th of February 2013. Today's update, we're going to be checking out the S&P and the Asx200. Before we do that, I've just got to remind you that the website and this video are for educational purposes only. Nothing stated at the site or in this video is intended to be used as any form of investment advice. I'm not a licensed professional. You need to make your own decisions regarding your investments. I'm just here to help anyone searching for a practical direction in today's markets. And guys, if you are a subscriber to AussieChartTrends.com.au, I just want to say thanks. And if you're not a subscriber and you're watching this on a delayed basis, well, just consider being a subscriber. It's only $22 per month and it's quite affordable. Alright, let's get into today's update by checking out the S&P 500 firstly. Okay, looking at the 10-minute chart here of the S&P 500. In yesterday's video, we were discussing this new blue line that we've got drawn on the chart here. It has acted as resistance now for some time. Now, in last night's trade, we opened up and then we seen the S&P 500 tag up on this upper blue line that we've got drawn. Now, guys, that's the high there for that target there was around that 1524.80 level, and the S&P 500 pretty much achieved from our larger pattern. Our inverted head and shoulders pattern, there we've got it there, our left shoulder, our head, and our right shoulder. Now, guys, we pretty much got up to that minimum expected target in last night's trade. So we can call it the fact that this pattern has now completed, and we don't really have any target now for the S&P 500. But if we look at the short-term trade of the S&P, in fact, I'll go to a 10-minute chart. In last night's trade, we seen the S&P come down to test this level down here before reacting back up. Now, the other thing that I've done is I've just extended these lines out that we've had, one being the support level of this little flag pattern and the other being the resistance level. Now, the S&P found a bunch of support here in last night's trade, and we found another level of support, surprise, surprise, on this red line. Now, guys, this is the red line. If we have a look on that 30-minute chart again, that is the red line that we've been viewing for some time, and the S&P has just seemed to have disregarded this area, and now we've seen a nice bounce there last night. So if we go back to the 10-minute chart, there's a few things I need to explain today. We may be forming a little head and shoulders top here. So we'd be looking at a left shoulder here, a head, and then maybe we might round down in tonight's trade to take out this red line. Not that we would be relying on this line because we've seen that the S&P break this area before getting back in. But if we were to see this red line break, come down to the same support level on this lower boundary line here, and potentially come up to back test this red line at a later date in the 1520s, and then come back down to take out this support area here, well, then we would be looking at a head and shoulders top. Now, guys, this is a pretty small pattern. Let's measure the depth of that. And if we add that on to the breakout, say somewhere down here, well, we would be looking at a minimum move down to around that 1507 area. Now, guys, if this little head and shoulders top was to play out, even though we do have rising support, we've got a couple of levels here, you would think that the S&P would most likely come down to tag around that 1500 area again before resisting. The bullish scenario that I want to point out is that in last night's trade, the S&P was able to get over its short-term intraday resistance level. So the fact that this line was broken to the upside at the last bit of trade, this may be a little bull flag pattern where we've seen the markets descend down, and then we've seen a breakout of this little pattern, and that could be pushing the S&P up into a new high. But for now, guys, let's just see. We've now got a bearish case scenario, and we've got a little bullish case scenario for what could happen between now and the weekend update. If we do see a move up in the market, we could expect that we'd find that resistance area on this blue line again, around that 1525 level. And if the S&P really puts on a show, let's see if it can get past this green line here around that 1528, 1530 level. Guys, the last thing that I'll mention in today's update is, if we have a look on a chart that's zoomed in a fair bit, this top blue line and then this bottom red line that we've got, it kind of looks like a rising wedge pattern, to be honest. And if you're a fan of Elliott wave theory, which means that you'd have 5 waves up, and that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the 5th move up to tag on this blue line, or if we could get up to that green line, even better. But it kind of looks as if that the S&P may have that one last push to the upside before we see any signs of weakness. Just a thought, I don't know, but it'd be interesting to see with the S&P what happens in the next couple of days of trade, whether we will see any more strength or not. That pretty much wraps up the S&P 500. Let's take a look now at the Asx200. Okay guys, I've got to be honest with you, there's not a lot I can actually tell you about the Asx200 today, because we're still within this rising channel defined by this top line and this bottom line that we've got drawn on the chart. Now, we've had this rising wedge pattern and we've seen a break to the upside, a bounce on support, and it looks as if that we're heading on up now to test this high boundary line up here. Now, you'd think that this would act as an area of resistance around that 5,060 level. Boy, we're in the 5,000s now. It's just amazing. The market just does not want to give up any steam. And while we're within this rising channel, well, we're just got to keep watching it until it busts. And it's funny, like at the moment, we've been watching the Asx200 just come up in this channel, and all sorts of weird and wonderful things are happening with the S&P. So it's just the way it goes at times. But one day soon, we will see this bottom channel line break. But for now, we're just chugging up fine. And if there's no reason to sell your positions at the moment, because we have not closed below this line. So guys, that pretty much wraps up today's market update. I'm sorry there's nothing else that I could really add with the Asx200, but from time to time these things happen, and what we need to do now is just keep our eye firmly on the S&P 500, be watching for any signs of weakness, and if we do see continued strength out of that market, well, there's no reason why the Asx200 would come back down. Okay, I'll be back on Saturday for the weekly review, and between now and Saturday I'll be releasing another video in the training area members section. So be sure to watch that, and I'll see you guys then on Saturday for the weekly review. Thanks for watching.